Inmate Command: How prison gangs control crime outside bars using phones and secret orders. Bullets flew. Shots echoed through an empty street in Charlotte, North Carolina. A young man dropped to the ground, a rival gang member, shot, bleeding fast. Nearby, another man ran, fear on his face, a single bullet grazing his arm. Sirens wailed in the distance, but by the time police arrived, the shooters had vanished into the night. What no one realized then was that the orders for this hit came not from someone on the street, but from deep inside prison walls, from a man locked behind bars, pulling invisible strings. That night changed everything. It jolted whole neighborhoods, shook families, and left people terrified that danger could reach them, even if you stayed home. But behind that fear lay a truth most people did not know. The violence was not random. It was planned. And it was coming from men who should have been powerless, locked up and alone, yet somehow still controlled the crime outside. As the first body was loaded into an ambulance and the wounded man cried out in pain, a secret network began to unravel. A network that would soon reach far beyond one shooting and spread chaos on the streets. What nobody suspected was that this shooting was just the beginning. Behind those prison walls, more orders were waiting, and one phone call or letter away from the next attack. The sun had not yet risen when officers in masks broke down doors across a dozen homes. Neighbors woke to the noise of boots and the bright flash of police lights. Men were let out in handcuffs. Some shouted, some cried. A swarm of agents said the arrests were the end of a web that had sent orders from behind steel bars. This was not just one small case. It was part of a long fight to stop gangs that planned crimes from inside prison cells. How did this happen? How could people locked inside concrete and metal still tell others on the outside what to do? The answer starts with the gang's rules and the tools they found. Prison gangs like the Mexican Mafia and Nuestra Familia grew powerful because they made strict rules, punished anyone who did not follow them, and collected money from drug dealers and small gangs on the street. Leaders inside prison used secret codes, letters, and hidden messages to reach friends outside. Sometimes they paid people to carry messages. Sometimes they bribed guards or found ways to smuggle phones and drugs into the prison. These methods let them order attacks, collect money, and keep control even when they could not leave their cells.
A big part of the power came from cell phones. Even in cells meant to be safe, tiny phones let inmates speak in real time with people on the street. They planned robberies and set rules about who paid them taxes for protection. They could point to someone and say that person must be hurt for breaking the rules. These orders were not always written down, but the phone calls and careful plans made the commands clear. Investigators later found phone records and secret messages that showed how the gang moved money and planned violence from behind bars. The police and federal teams watched quietly for months. They followed money, tracked shipments, and read records. In some cases, courts later said the gang had plotted murders and large drug sales that crossed state lines. Those cases proved something scary. Putting someone in prison did not always stop them from hurting people outside. Lawmakers, prosecutors, and prison officials started new plans to stop contraband and to cut phone lines going into cells. The work was slow and hard, and the gangs kept trying new ways to hide their orders. For families in the neighborhoods, the truth felt small and huge at the same time. Small because the orders often traveled in simple ways, a folded note, a friendly visitor, a secret call. Huge because the leaders who gave the orders were sometimes the ones who had the most followers, and their word made people on the street act. People who had sworn loyalty to a gang often followed orders out of fear, respect, or the need to survive. That made the whole system hard to break. Even when police arrested many people, someone new stepped in to take the place of those who left. Investigators thought they had a break. Evidence taken from one raid showed a pattern, lists of names, phone numbers, and codes that tied shots fired on the streets back to orders given in cells months earlier. But the more they learned, the more questions they had. Who was the leader giving the orders now? How many more phone lines were hidden inside walls? And who else was ready to take revenge if those leaders were taken away? The case that began with dawn raids had opened a door into a deeper maze.
This is where the story turns. The next move would not be simple arrests or a single courtroom. It would reach into courts, prisons, and into the quiet corners of neighborhoods that had learned to live with fear. And somewhere, someone behind bars was already writing the next instruction. Stay with me. In the next, we pull the curtain back on one inside leader's rise, read the messages that tied crimes together, and watch the slow, dangerous hunt to stop the next order before it is carried out. The night was quiet, almost too quiet when the call came through. A small apartment in Atlanta had been broken into, guns fired, and 2 men were dead. But what shocked investigators most was not the shooting itself. It was the discovery of a folded note tucked under a floorboard. It was written in a code that had been traced back months earlier to a cell in the Georgia State Prison. The man who wrote it was serving a 25-year sentence for racketeering. Yet, even behind bars, he was directing the violence outside. Inside the prison, he was calm. Guards saw nothing unusual. Other inmates might have joked about his influence, but everyone knew better than to underestimate him. His phone, smuggled in by a visitor and hidden inside a toothpaste tube, had already sent dozens of messages that morning. Each was a command, a warning, or an instruction that someone on the street would follow without hesitation. The message found by police was just the latest in a chain that had caused years of shootings, robberies, and threats across multiple cities. Months before, this same inmate had orchestrated a plan to control rival gangs' drug routes. Using coded letters, encrypted phone calls, and trusted intermediaries, he had set up a network that stretched from Atlanta to Charlotte and even into parts of Florida. People on the street feared crossing him because he could make their lives dangerous without ever leaving his cell. He had created a system where loyalty was bought, threatened, or enforced by violence, and even his rivals often obeyed simply to survive.
Investigators realized the scale of the operation only after tracing the money. Every small drug sale, every protection payment, and even some small robberies were funneled back to accounts connected to him. And the more they looked, the clearer it became that his reach extended further than any one city. From inside prison walls, he had effectively built a criminal empire, one that could execute orders, punish enemies, and reward loyalty, all while remaining locked in a single cell. But even the most careful plans have weaknesses. One night, a miscommunication led a gang member to take an action that was not approved. The fallout was immediate. Shots were fired, alarms went off, and police quickly connected the event back to the inmates' network. That mistake gave law enforcement a critical opening. They began monitoring all known intermediaries, reading messages, tracking phone signals, and piecing together the network like a puzzle. Each small clue revealed not just the crimes already committed, but the potential for future attacks. The stakes were higher than anyone imagined. Families still lived in fear. Gang members outside worried about betrayal. Rivals feared sudden attacks. And the inmate inside realized his empire could crumble if law enforcement connected every piece. Every order he gave carried risk, but stepping back was not an option. His reputation depended on it, and in the prison world, power meant survival. The final showdown was coming. Investigators planned a coordinated series of raids, phone interceptions, and arrests designed to cut the network at its core. But as officers closed in, the inmate prepared one last series of instructions. Every message, every coded word had the potential to spark another wave of crime. And somewhere, someone on the outside was ready to act, unaware that the net was closing in. The tension reached a breaking point. Would law enforcement finally end the shadow empire controlled from behind bars, or would the inmates' final orders unleash a chaos no one expected? The answer would reveal the true reach of a network that thrived while its leader remained locked inside.